I'm not Mitch Connor, and I am not technically a Donald Trump supporter, though I do want him to be the next president. And not because I follow a cult of personality, not because I think he can be the savior for this country. It's because he is the least risk. Every other candidate is 100% risk, okay? Every single one. Globalists, socialists, kind of nut jobs. The only one that I'd even give any consideration to beyond Trump would be Rand Paul, and he is not perfect by a long shot either. Now, the reason why I do this is that I just want to lay out at least the idea of how the media will lie and twist things, okay? And some of it is speculative, but some of it is not speculative at all, and it will start out with not speculative at all, okay? See, all this stuff with Donald Trump and women is not going to stop during the election and the debates and all that, okay, leading up to the election. It is not going to stop. And this is a very big hit piece now that they put out, of course, because they know that he's going to be the Republican nominee. Now, maybe you don't like Trump, maybe you don't want to support the system, okay? But I'm not saying support the system, I'm saying that the system needs to be fixed, okay? Because what are you going to do, destroy the system? What do you think that's going to cause? But chaos. And what do the so-called New World Order globalists like so much? Well, they like that little phrase they put on the dollar bill there, order out of chaos. They put it in Latin, of course. What is it? Order ab out chow? Cow? Well, I don't know how you pronounce it exactly. I can't remember, but whatever. It's not important. Okay, so crossing the line, how Donald Trump behaved with women in private. Interviews reveal unwelcome advances, assured reliance on ambition, and unsettling workplace conduct over decades. By the way, this is not the only person that does or has worked for Trump. You can search this. It's very simple. That says very, very good things about the guy. Okay. Hey, here's another one right here about Trump rallies and his Trump supporters. But the point is, okay, oh, maybe this woman's paid. Probably not, but the people that used to work for him are probably not paid, okay? Now, the article goes on. Donald Trump had barely met Rowan Brewer Lane when he asked her to change out of her clothes. Donald was having a pool party at Mar-a-Lago. There was about 50 models and 30 men. There were girls in the pool splashing around. For some reason, Donald seemed a little smitten with me. He just started talking to me and nobody else. He suddenly took me by the hand and he started to show me around the mansion. He asked me if I had a swimsuit with me. I said no. I hadn't intended to swim. He took me into a room and opened drawers and asked me to put on a swimsuit. Miss Brewer Lane, at the time a 26-year-old model, did as Mr. Trump asked. I went into the bathroom and tried one on, she recalled. It was a bikini. I came out and he said, wow. Mr. Trump, then 44 and in the midst of his first divorce, decided to show her off to the crowd at Mar-a-Lago, his estate at Palm Beach, Florida. He brought me out to the pool and said, "That is a stunning Trump girl, isn't it?" Miss Brewer Lane said. Now, they don't follow up too much on it, but they're basically trying to make him look like a, in their eyes, somebody who is very good with women and very good at, and just because a guy's good at getting in a woman's pants doesn't mean that it's all about the pussy, okay? Some men just have a natural way of doing it. And Donald Trump might just be one of those guys, okay? There is kind of a game, so to speak, as far as, spitting game. You know that term. Because, you see, hey, this is Rowan Brewer Lane. Former Trump girlfriend hits back at upsetting New York Times cover story. This was published today, early this morning. And the New York Times article published on Saturday begins with an anecdote from a woman named Rowan Brewer Lane, who was a 26-year-old model, was asked by the businessman to put on a swimsuit during their first meeting at a Mar-a-Lago pool party. But the 1990 episode at Mar-a-Lago that Miss Brewer-Lane described was different. A devastating face-to-face encounter between Mr. Trump and a young woman he hardly knew. This is the private treatment of some women by Mr. Trump, the up-close and more intimate encounters, the Times wrote. On Monday morning, Brewer-Lane appeared on Fox and Friends to dispute the Times' framing of her account. Actually, it was very upsetting. I was not happy to read it at all, Miss Brewer-Lane said. Well, because the New York Times told us several times that they would make sure that my story that I was telling came across. They promised several times that they would do it accurately. They told me several times, and my manager several times, that it would not be a hit piece, and that my story would come across the way that I was telling it, and honestly, and it absolutely was not. In other words, they fucking twisted the truth. They spun it. That's what the reporters got wrong, Brewer-Lane. They said they took her quotes and put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump, and I don't appreciate them making it look like I was saying that it was a negative experience, because it was not. Co-host Ainsley Earhart asked to clarify if Brewer-Lane knew him well and that they dated for several months. That's correct. Yes. And he was never. He never made me feel like I was being demeaned in any way. He never offended me in any way. He was very gracious. I saw him all around all types of people, all types of women. He was very kind, thoughtful, generous, He was a gentleman, Brewer said. Yeah. See, this is what they do. They take words and put them slightly out of context, or try to, slightly twist your perception with the words they put around it to make you think badly of the person that they are doing the hit piece about. So, anyway, Donald Trump and women. The words evoke a familiar cascade of casual insults hurled from the safe distance of a Twitter account, a radio show, or a campaign podium. Why? Because he called Rosie O'Donnell a fat slob? She is. She's kind of a bitch, too. Yeah, women can be bitches. Just like guys can be assholes. And you know what? Rosie O'Donnell ain't all that pretty either, Neither was Carly Fiorina. I mean, she took good care of herself, but, she kind of had an odd-looking face. So what? See, what the media doesn't like here is that Trump is playing a mind game with them and has been the whole time, okay? Some people think it's just a joke to him or something. No. He knows how to wrap these idiots around his finger and even get them to get all up in arms about stuff, okay? Which, you know what? It gives him more attention. More free attention. Yeah. Sorry, but that is smart. Oh, he's so offensive. Grow up. Anyway, the article goes on. This is the public treatment of some woman by Mr. Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee for president. Degrading, impersonal, performed. That must be a pretty picture, you dropping to your knees, he told the female contestant on The Celebrity Apprentice. Is that confirmed? And who's the female contestant? And, even, let's say he did. Well, some guys like getting blowjobs, okay? Maybe he was already, getting towards intimacy with her or something, Some guys find that beautiful. I mean, there's a whole fucking porn industry where women are actually accepting of that sort of perception. And not all of those women are, necessarily, it's not like they're all complete scumbags or something. There is a dark side to it, no doubt, okay? But that's not the subject here. I'm just trying to use that as an example, okay? Like some women like sex. Some women like to be objectified. It turns them on. I have known women like this who they love it. They completely love it. But, does that make him really a bad person? So he likes sex. There's a lot of people that like sex. And you know what? Probably a lot of those people that like sex, your car was broken down on the side of the street, they'd probably help you out, They'd probably hold the door for you, even if you were, whether you're a man or a woman. If you were dying in the street, they'd probably pick you up and take you to the frickin' hospital, because most people do have consciences, but some people, and I can empathize. I have had myself in those shoes, okay, where I've had issues with things like this, okay, in the past, and whether this is true or not, and I'm guessing because they don't actually cite the female contestant that it's not, but I mean, I don't know, but I don't even care if you said that. But anyway, but the 1990 episode of Mar-a-Lago that Miss Brewer-Lane described was different. A debasing face-to-face encounter between Mr. Trump and a young woman he hardly knew. This is the private treatment of some women by Mr. Trump. The up-close and more intimate encounters. And this is, once again, Miss Brewer-Lane, just like in this article. Oh, yeah, and by the way, did I mention that she said he was flattered when she said the thing about the swimsuit? She said she didn't have a swimsuit. I came from shoot, like I said, and I started talking with Donald and chatting with him over the course of the first maybe 20 minutes I was there, and we seemed to get along in conversation nicely. And it was just very normally and naturally evolved into a conversation. We started walking around the mansion. He started showing me the architecture. We were having a very nice conversation, and we got into a certain part of it, and he asked me if I had a swimsuit. I said I didn't. I had not really planned on swimming. He asked me if I wanted one. I said, okay, sure. And I changed into one. And the part where I went back out to the pool party, he made a comment, now that's a stunning Trump girl right there. I was actually flattered by. She was flattered by the comment. Because some women actually a lot of women like to be told they're beautiful. Stunning is another word for beautiful. Even hot is another word for beautiful, though it's usually more connotated to sexy, or usually like a womanizer, a pickup artist would use that terminology rather than a decent guy or something, but which is not always the case, I'll tell you right now. I know because I am a guy, and I've been around a lot of different types of guys in my life, and I have kind of studied their personalities quite a bit. She also says that she's never seen him mistreat women. So, let's go on a little bit with the article. So we got the main witness in this article that supposedly, the New York Times did lie about that, she supposedly was offended by it and blah, 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 even though she ended up dating him. So these women, their accounts, these women, many relayed here in their own words. You mean twisted here in their own words? Reveal unwelcome romantic advances, unending commentary on the female form, a shrewd reliance on ambitious women, and unsettling workplace conduct, according to the interviews, as well as court records and written recollections. Okay. The unwelcome romantic advances. Sometimes guys do that, okay. Now, there will be some groping mentioned, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm gonna get to that, and I'm gonna lay out something that some women might not like, but there is truth to it. Unending commentary on the female form. You know what? Men like the female form. I like the female form. I like it when a woman is in good shape. I'm in pretty good shape myself, I like it when a woman takes care of herself. See, that is when a woman has a very nice body, it means she takes care of herself. She takes care of her health. And that is an attractive quality in order to reproduce with. Okay? Not to mention it reflects on the personality, okay? Well, you think, are most fat women actually happy? Are they vibrant? Or, are they usually depressed, more likely to be angry, things like that, okay? There's more negativity with them, isn't there? Yeah, as far as my experiences, there is. And that is not attractive, okay? I've met some pretty curvy women, though, that, they do have vibrant personalities, and that is attractive, and it's nice to be around. whether or not I find them sexually attractive or not. So then there's a shrewd reliance on ambitious women. Now, this seems to be a reference to later in the article when they talk about the women Trump employed in high executive positions. Oh, he must be sexist then. Yeah. Is there... And what's this reliance thing? So are you trying to say that... well, you're saying he relies on these women. So you're trying to say he's weak or something, right? No. But that doesn't sound like a sexist to me if he's employing women, but we'll get to that part 2 as well. And unsettling workplace conduct, which connects to the shrewd reliance on ambitious women, according to the supposed interviews, which if the first one is twisted, the other one that will come across is probably twisted too. And I'm sure something will come out to bring that to light pretty soon. And of course, as well as court records and written recollections, which, well, I'll get to that too. The interactions occurred in his office at Trump Tower, at his homes, at construction sites, and backstage at beauty pageants. They appeared to be fleeting, unimportant moments to him, but they left lasting impressions on the woman who experienced them. What emerges from the interviews is a complex, at times contradictory portrait of a wealthy, well-known, and provocative man, and the women around him. One that defies simple categorization. Crossing the line, how Donald Trump behaved in women in private, which is indicative of, you can tell by the article that they're going to say he is terrible to women. So that would be, actually, it wouldn't defy simple categorization, because throughout this whole article they keep basically trying to say he's terrible to women. Okay. Some women found him gracious and encouraging. Okay, yeah, like like this lady. Is that how they're gonna get around any sort of freaking libel lawsuit or whatever? He promoted several to the loftiest heights of his company, a daring move for a major real estate developer at the time. He simultaneously nurtured women's careers and mocked their physical appearance. "You like your candy," he told an overweight female executive who oversaw the construction of his headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. He could be lewd in one moment and gentlemanly the next. And so what if he said that? Oh my God. See, women are very, very sensitive generally about that thing. Not every woman is, but most women I've known. I mean, you say something like that to them, yeah. But, like, maybe he'd say that to a guy, too. "Hey, dude, you're getting kind of fat. You all right there?" And usually a dude would be just like, yeah, I am. I need to exercise or something. But women are so sensitive. Oh, God. It's like when a woman is like, "Am I fat?" If usually it's because they're getting fat. And then they're just going to get mad at you for saying that. It's like, so you want me to lie to you? For Christ's sake. I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah, you're getting fat. It's honesty. You asked a question, well, you got an answer. You're mad about it? If you know the answer yourself, why'd you ask it? That's just freaking stupid. But, that's a woman for you. A lot of women are like that. In an interview, Mr. Trump described himself as a champion of women, someone who took pride in hiring them and was in awe of their work ethic. "It would just seem," he said, "that there was something that they want to really prove." Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them want equality in the workforce and all that. The ones, or at least the ones that are ambitious enough to actually get to high positions in corporations and such, which is where you're gonna make the most money, unless you own them or you invest in the stock market in them. Brushed on the women's claims, Mr. Trump disputed many of the details, such as asking Miss Brewer-Lane to put on a swimsuit. "A lot of things get made up over the years," he said. "I've always treated women with great respect, and women will tell you that." She actually does confirm he did put on a swimsuit, but He's, you know, he's not. It's not like he's necessarily directly referring to that. So what? And so what if he is? You think he doesn't know they're gonna try to turn it on him? What has happened this whole time he's been campaigning? Every little thing they try to turn on him, and it's not working either. Like there's some people, there's the Never Trump folks who are just freaking retarded. Yeah, and worked on some, but I mean, for the most part, people who every time they try to do this stuff, he gets more supporters. Probably because a lot of people know that the media is just trying to, the media doesn't like conservative. He's not exactly a conservative, though, but, he's in the Republican Party, whatever. They don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Republican Party all that much either. So, but I'm not going to make up lies about him. All right, so, but it goes on, but in many cases, there was an unmistakable dynamic at play. Mr. Trump had the power, and the women did not. He had celebrity. He had wealth. He had connections. Even after he had behaved crudely towards them, some of the women sought his assistance with their careers or remained by his side. Oh, yeah, by the way, I seem to recall Miss Brewer-Lane had said that she actually tried to help her with her career. And anyway, why wouldn't the women seek assistance with their careers if they know a man such as Donald Trump, who, by the way, is very good at playing the media? This is why, I mean, he's a real estate developer, for Christ's sake. Yeah, like, I know there's interviews going back to at least the early 80s with him, and it's like, okay, why does anybody care about this guy otherwise, No, because he's a smart publicist, okay? He knows how to work the media, and he knows how to promote things, which leads to making money. It's advertising, basically, okay? He's very good at self-advertising. Is there something inherently wrong with that? I mean, he had some failed business ventures, big deal, Most people who are entrepreneurs do, but they keep trying and keep trying to succeed. Anyway, for Miss Brewer-Lane, her introduction to Mr. Trump at Mar-a-Lago was the start of a whirlwind romance. A heady blur of helicopter rides and high-end hotel rooms and flashing cameras. It was intimidating, she said. He was Donald Trump, obviously. Yeah. So what? As if this is a bad thing, okay? He's a wealthy man. Of course, there would be a heady blur of helicopter rides and high-end hotel rooms and flashing cameras, for Christ's sake. Boarding school ladies' man. Oh, big deal. So he's always bringing in pretty girls, whatever. He wasn't bringing the same girl. He had a variety of girls coming up. This is his high school classmate. Donald was bringing in very pretty women, very sophisticated women, and very well-dressed women. You could always tell they were of a higher class. And he basically means by higher class, like, they were classy women. Okay. So what? He doesn't even say that he was having sex with them even, He's just a charming guy, Some guys are good at that, like I said. Mr. Trump the Alpha Trump. Mr. Trump grew up with an influential role model for how to deal with women, Fred C. Trump, his powerful and unyielding father. The elder Mr. Trump exerted control no matter how big or small the decision, as Ivana Zelkanova learned over dinner one night in the late 70s. Her boyfriend, Donald Trump, had invited her to join his siblings and parents at Tavern on the Green, the ornate restaurant in Central Park. When the waiter came to take orders, Ivana made the mistake of asking for what she wanted. Fred Trump set her straight. As she recalled previously in an unpublished interview with Michael D'Antonio, the author of The Truth About Trump, Fred would order steak. Then Donald would order steak. Everybody would order steak. I told the waiter I'd like to have fish. Okay, so I could have fish. And Fred would say to the waiter, no, Ivana is not going to have fish. She is going to have a steak. I said, no, I'm going to have my fish. Donald would come home and say, Ivana, why would you have a fish instead of a steak? I say, because I'm not going to be told by somebody to have something which I don't want. Mr. Trump defended his father's conduct. He would have said that out of love, he said. If his father had overruled their fish order, Mr. Trump said, he would have said that only on the basis that he thought that would be better for her. And don't forget that this is an old school dude, Fred C. Trump. Okay? Yeah. Men were a little bit more domineering back in the day. Okay? And often they did it because they thought they had your best interest at heart. Now men are pussified. Okay? See, this is part of masculinity, whether you like it or not, you know? Like, yeah, I am of the sort where, you know, I would have not said that. And so what? You know? They're trying to demonize a time that people just don't understand anymore, you know? They don't understand the societal norms at the time. Especially, you know, a man who was successful such as his father. So, all people like that must be evil, right? No, that was just the norm then, okay? You want to call it a patriarchy or whatever. Well, there's a reason why men have the attributes that they do naturally, and women have the attributes they do naturally. Doesn't mean, you know, that these roles, you know, you don't have to follow these roles, but this was the norm back then. You know, doesn't mean he's a bad person for it. I mean, that's just going too far with it, you know. Anyway, the elder Mr. Trump did not hide his more traditional views on gender. When his son hired a woman, Barbara A. Rez, as his head of construction in the 80s, Fred Trump was mystified and annoyed. Now, this is the other person that I am really curious. Well, she is the author of the book, All Alone on the 68th Floor. So maybe she had a bad experience. Maybe she wants to get back at Trump for it. You know, maybe she's mad at him and, you know, it's like, well, I'm going to write a book. That'll show him. So she says, Fred did not like the idea that Donald had hired me. A woman? Donald told me that. But I could tell by the way Fred treated me. He used to say all the time, you don't know what you're talking about. When I would complain to Donald about Fred, he would say, Fred didn't want me to hire you or didn't think it was a woman's job. Okay. Mr. Trump said it was a different era. My father, he said, probably never would have seen a woman in that position. What did I just say? Different era. That is another way of putting what I had already said. Yeah. Mr. Trump still holds up his parents' models, praising his stay-at-home mother for understanding and accommodating a husband who worked almost non-stop. My mother was always fine with it, he said, recalling her brilliant management of the situation. Something got interrupted because he was going to inspect a housing site or something. She would handle that so beautiful. She was an ideal woman, he said. Yeah, the nurturing, mothering type. That is kind of the ideal for women, you know. If you don't want to be that, if you're a woman, you don't want to be that kind of woman, fine, that's your choice. But a lot of women do. A lot of women enjoy being the mother, the nurturer, the caretaker of the family. They get a sense of purpose out of it. If you don't, fine, that's your choice. I'm not twisting your arm to be that way. And neither really is anybody else, but there are a lot of people that are trying to twist women's arms to not be that way. And that's bullshit. There's something wrong with that. Freaking control freak nut jobs. The Company of Women. With his purchase of the Miss Universe organization, Mr. Trump was now in the business of young, beautiful women. They craved his advice and approval, a fact that he seemed to understand well. Temple Taggart, the 21-year-old Miss Utah, was startled by how forward he was with young contestants like her in 1997. His first year as the owner of Miss USA, a branch of beauty pageant of the beauty pageant organization. As she recalls it, he introduced himself in an unusually intimate manner. Apparently, she said, he kissed me directly on the lips. I thought, oh my God, gross. He was married to Marla Maples at the time. I think there were a few other girls that he kissed on the mouth. I was like, wow, that's inappropriate. There are some who kind of practice that custom, though, you know. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, like son kissing his mother or even father on the lips. Who knows? Or maybe it didn't happen because Mr. Trump disputes this, saying he was reluctant to kiss strangers on the lips. But Ms. Taggart said it was not an isolated incident. How do we know that this isn't twisted? Or how do we know that, you know, she... Because I don't think she won. I don't know. Let's see. Well, she wasn't griping about it in 1997. And she was trumpeting over Trump's attention. She got more attention than the damn winner. She ended up knocking the house down with some singing. She brought down the house, her rendition of Any Man of Mine. Could have been one of my biggest breaks, she said. And have you heard of her since? This is 1997 here. No, you haven't. Could it be that she's just mad that she wasn't successful after that? That maybe, you know, she'll get something out of this by talking trash about him? Because she certainly doesn't have anything to say about being kissed on the lips here. And she got all sorts of cards. Where was it? There's stuffed cards in her pockets. She's got a number of offers. Anyway, it's somewhere in here. Where she got just a ton of business cards and such, okay? After being in it. So... probably not completely honest. And even if she is, okay, well, she could say, why are you kissing me on the lips, you know? You could stop that, but apparently too afraid to do that. Oh, but it's Donald Trump. He's a celebrity. He's rich, powerful. He's scary. So in 1997, she was very happy about how much time he spent with her, but here... at the gala celebration after the show, she said, Mr. Trump immediately zeroed in on her, telling her how much he liked her style and inviting her to visit him in New York to talk about her future. Soon enough, she said, he delivered another unwelcome kiss on her lips, this time in Trump Tower. After boasting of his connections to elite modeling agencies, he advised her to lie about her age to get ahead in the industry. We're going to have to tell them you're 17, Miss Taggart recalled him telling her. Because this is mine, 21 is too old. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, why don't you say we're not, if that actually happened... why didn't you say we're not going to do that if he kissed you on the lips? Probably didn't. I realize that I think that these pageants are freaking stupid. But that's another story. They still happen. And, yeah, whatever. His level of involvement in the pageants was unexpected, and his judgments, the contestants said, could be harsh. Carrie Prejean, who was 21 when she participated in the Miss USA contest as Miss California in 2009, was surprised to find Mr. Trump personally evaluating the women at rehearsal. We were told to put on our opening number outfits. They were nearly as revealing as our swimsuits and line up for him on stage, she wrote in her memoir, Still Standing. And have we heard of her? Oh, yeah, this is the one who had the sex tape and had the anti-gay answer or whatever. Which I don't really care. It's probably not really anti-gay. It's probably just that she doesn't approve of it, but whatever. That's always anti-gay. You want to kill all fags. Jesus Christ. Stop twisting shit. I don't really care what she said, to be honest, okay? I heard about this back then, and I forgot her name because I didn't really give a crap. Anyway. So yeah, she had a sex tape come out in 2009, and she got stripped of it. Okay, so there's definitely a motive there to yeah, let's talk crap about everything to make money, you know. Sell a book. Her memoir is Still Standing. Yeah, that is a motive for some people because she lost a lot. Okay, when she got stripped of that. And who knows? Maybe she put it out on her own. I'm pretty convinced most of these sex tapes get put out by the people who are in them, because PR agents know that no publicity is bad publicity. Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton probably would have never had famous, careers in fame, because you really can't call it anything else, had they not had sex tapes put out there by whomever. Donald Trump walked out with his entourage and inspected us closer than any general ever inspected a platoon. Wow, those are some choice words there. I mean, that's like saying, hey, bend over, turn around. I just want to look real close. I mean, what the hell? He would stop in front of a girl, look her up and down, and say, Then he would go on and do the same thing to the next girl. He took notes on a little pad as he went along. After he did this, Trump said, "Okay, I want all the girls to come forward." Trump looked at Miss Alabama. "Come here," he said. She took one more step forward. "Tell me, who's the most beautiful woman here?" Her eyes swarmed around. "Besides me, I like Arkansas. She's sweet." "I don't care if she's sweet. Is she hot?" said Trump. It became clear that the point of the whole exercise was for him to divide the room between girls he personally found attractive and those he did not. Many of the girls found the exercise humiliating. Some of the girls were sobbing backstage after he left, devastated to have failed even before the competition really began to impress the Donald. Of course, Trump said in an interview he would never do that. Such behavior, he said, would bruise egos and hurt feelings. "I wouldn't hurt people, he said. That's hurtful to people." They don't have any other examples of anybody else from that pageant coming out and saying this, by the way. And once again, don't forget, this is the one who had the sex tape, who lost it, she won and then got it taken away from her for the Miss USA. See, she has a bone to pick. And plus, controversy tends to bring sales, doesn't it? "Ooh, I want to read this chick dish the dirt about Donald Trump." Come on. Straight out of E! Network, practically, A preoccupation with bodies. A lot of guys have that because, well, nice bodies are attractive. Big deal. Mr. Trump was not just fixated on the appearance of the women around him, he possessed an almost compulsive need to talk about it. Inside the Trump Organization, the company that manages his various businesses, he occasionally interrupted routine discussions of business to opine on women's figures. Miss Rez, his construction executive, remembered a meeting in which she and Mr. Trump interviewed an architect for a project in the L.A. area. Out of the blue, she said, Mr. Trump evaluated the fitness of women in Marina del Rey, California. "They take care of their asses," he said. That's just funny, even if he did say it. I'm still laughing. I had to pause it because I was laughing. God, such sensitive people. "The architect and I didn't know where he was coming from," Miss Rez said. Years later, after she had gained a significant amount of weight, Miss Rez entered a stinging workplace observation about her own body from Trump. "You like your candy." She recalled him telling her, "It was him reminding me that I was overweight." Or he was trying to motivate you to, take better care of yourself. Maybe that's his way of doing that. Jesus Christ. Her colleague Louise Sunshine experienced similar observations from Mr. Trump when she gained weight, but she saw it as friendly encouragement, not a cruel insult. "Well, there you go. He thought I looked much better thin," she said. "He would remind me of how beautiful I was." Look at how two different women can take this, basically the same thing, two different ways, okay? Friendly encouragement. That's somebody whose perception is not twisted. As if, most men don't want to be like, "You're fucking fat," okay? They don't want to be cruel like that, okay? But I don't go out of my way to call a woman fat, but if a woman will ask me that and she is fat, yeah, you kind of are and you should do something about it. But see, here's the key to that statement, okay? You should do something about it. That's encouragement. That's friendly encouragement. That's actually caring, okay? "Oh my God, I told you the truth." And then I gave you some good advice on how to make things better. Do something about it. Okay, that's actually friendly encouragement and not a cruel insult. It's not like, haha, you're fat. Come on. You know, there's a lot of women out there who will twist things like Miss Rez, in my opinion, does. While this woman, Louise Sunshine, does not. See, if you're fat, you're not healthy. So it's not bad to tell a woman she's fat if she actually fucking is. It's actually good. Maybe they'll do something about it. But, oh, my feelings are hurt. Well, your feelings wouldn't be hurt if you took better care of yourself, okay? Jesus. Miss Rez goes on. Whenever possible, Mr. Trump wanted visitors to see his most attractive employees, as Miss Rez learned. Before I get to her statement, maybe that's a selling point. You ever hear a little slogan that goes something like this? Sex sells. Yeah, it can even sell in a business meeting. Okay. We had a meeting once. I grabbed one of the women in the office and sent her in to get lunch orders. Donald said, not her. She didn't look great. He got another woman to take the lunch orders. That was purely about looks. He wanted the people in that room to think that all the women who worked for him were beautiful. No, it was a selling tactic, and so what? Maybe that's just smart. That doesn't mean that he's an asshole. It just means he understands how these people he's trying to do business with think. That's smart. Mr. Trump frequently sought assurances at times from strangers that the women in his life were beautiful. So, during the 1997 Miss Teen USA pageant, he sat in the audience as his teenage daughter Ivanka helped to host the event from on stage. He turned to Brooke Antoinette Mahelini Lee, who has too many damn names, Miss Universe at the time, and asked for her opinion of his daughter's body. Okay. Now this one, if this is actually said in these exact words, that does come across a little creepy to me. If he's like, don't you think my daughter's hot? She's hot, right? Miss Lee recalled him saying. I was like, really? That's just weird. She was 16. That's creepy. Now this relates to the interview Trump did with his daughter in his presence, and he's like, isn't she beautiful? I'd date her if she weren't my daughter. Now, the use of the word hot, I already talked about the connotation of that, okay? So that doesn't need to be explained again. But still, like, I'd even be a little bit weird if he put it like that, okay? I'd be like, yeah, it's kind of weird, dude, you saying that. Yeah. Now, did he actually say it like that? Maybe he said beautiful. Maybe he said gorgeous, which isn't as bad, okay? I mean, you think there are a lot of mothers out there like, my son's gorgeous. Okay, so does that make the mother sick? Actually, there's a deeper expression going on there of the desire for reproduction of the bloodline, okay? Which is normal. My son's gorgeous, so he'll probably have a gorgeous woman and they'll have beautiful children. Healthy children. Healthy really is the underlying thing there. Anyway, I don't know if he actually said it like that. This could be twisted. This could be completely misquoted. She could be freaking lying for all we know. And, well, we already know that there's some lying going on in this article, so who knows? Anyway, back to Miss Brewer Lane. This lady. Yeah, she reiterated this in this very article, by the way. And that he did ask her if his wife was a 10. Yeah, right here. Oh, wait, no. Is this a quote from the... oh, wait, no. Sorry. She addressed the passage later on CNN, commenting that she saw the incident as a manifestation of Trump's boyish charm. So she wasn't speaking negatively just because he asked her, on a scale of 1 to 10, what she thought of Marla. So that boyish charm thing, though, kind of changes everything in this paragraph. Boyish, the way they put it here, or the way it appears here, even if she did say boyish, most people will think of that as immature. But no, that's not actually what it was. She said, I thought it was kind of attractive because you see this stellar businessman. She said, I expected a little bit more of a harsh attitude from him, and he was very genuine. Huh. Okay. And all of that clearly backs up these next couple of paragraphs where his senior advisor appeared on CNN after the article was published. And Miss Lane clearly doesn't feel like she was debased. So they have inserted their own opinion of how she felt, which is crazy. First of all, this is the 1980s. We all have a lot of things we regret about the 1980s. Cocaine! I do particularly. Some of the clothes were hideous. I was 18 in 1982. I'm 52 now, so a lot has changed, Bennett said in reference to one of the eras examined in the articles. The episode with Brewer Lane, however, occurred in 1990. And 1990 was an extension of the 80s. The 80s really didn't stop until like 1991 or 2. I grew up in the 80s. Okay, I was born in 1980, for Christ's sake. He goes on. But I mean, this is ridiculous. They talked to 50 women and managed to put 7 or 8 in the story. Over half of them had great things to say. The one that had great things to say, they twisted it and called her debased, which is not how she feels. You saw that. And, well, that is corroborated by her. Anyway. With the coming forward today, Trump celebrated the pushback in the article in another tweet. With the coming forward today of the woman central to the failing New York Times hit piece on me, we have exposed the article as a fraud. Yep. And, by the way, Brewer Lane is supporting him, thinks he's doing a great job. Yeah. Of course, a spokesperson for the New York Times told Politico in a statement that Miss Brewer Lane was quoted fairly accurately and at length. The story provides a lot of context for the reader, including that the swimsuit scene was the start of a whirlwind romance. All right, whirlwind romance kind of sounds like something really chaotic, because a whirlwind kind of creates chaos, Just retarded. The reporters who wrote the story went on CBS this morning to provide their account too. I recall in my interview with her that she basically said, I was taken aback by this, and I think that's how we depicted it, Barbera said in a reference to the swimsuit anecdote. I think people can kind of evaluate the story on its own merits. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. How am I doing? Barbara Rez, a former Trump executive who headed his construction efforts, told Politico that she did not take issue with her portrayal in the article, adding that she had been screwed over on past occasions by journalists. Okay. Still. Doesn't mean that, she doesn't have some sort of reason, some personal motivation to talk about what she's talking about. And if there is a personal motivation, it doesn't mean it's true. And even with it's like I showed before, it's a matter of perception, like with Louise Sunshine and the thing about gaining weight, and she saw it as a friendly encouragement. Okay, that's just a matter of perception. I bet you money that's really what he was going for. Kissing and telling everyone. He liked to brag about his sexual prowess and his desirability as a date, no matter who was around. Barbara J. Fife, a deputy mayor under David N. Dinkins, New York mayor in the early 90s, was not especially close to Mr. Trump, but that did not stop him from telling her why he was in such a hurry one day as he sat in her office in City Hall. I have this great date tonight with a model for Victoria's Secret, Miss Fife said, recalled telling her. I saw it as immature, quite honestly, she said. At his office in Trump Tower, Mr. Trump seemed eager for his colleagues to hear about his new companion, Miss Maples. When the New York Post feasted on her supposed satisfaction with him in bed, captured in the headline, "Best Sex I've Ever Had," Mr. Trump was unabashed, Miss Rez says. Well, why not? What man doesn't want to be, only a douchebag wouldn't want to pleasure a woman that he's having sex with, for Christ's sake. I mean, that's just selfish to be any other way. And some people are kind of proud of it, Like, I mean, nobody's really saying that, it's like he's doing it to put them down. And some people will take it like that anyways, just because he's excited about it and he wants to talk about it, Some people will be like, oh, well, you're trying to make me feel like shit because I'm single. No, I'm just really happy for myself. Sorry you take it that way. I don't know. Anyway, Miss Rez says, he absolutely loved that. He waved it around the office. Did you see this? Everybody who worked there was kind of horrified. We all thought it made him look bad. He didn't. Mr. Trump denies boasting about the headline. He seems more bashful these days, saying he cannot recall how many women he has dated. Not as many as people would think, he said. I'm not somebody that really loved the dating process. Honestly, I don't really care which it was, whether he waved it around or not. I don't know why anybody does. I mean, honestly, like, a lot of this, kind of seems like almost a jealousy sort of thing with some of these people, like Miss Rez. Well, this is her LinkedIn. My book, All Alone on the 68th Floor, is of interest to Trump supporters and detractors, as well as the curious. Working moms. Lots of care and concern about diversity, but as companies monitor sexual and racial harassment and discrimination, ageism is fast on the rise. Well, sounds like she wants to play victim. That's nice. There's her little job history if you want to pause it and take a look. Worked for Trump from 80 to 90 or 80 to 92. Well, apparently executive vice president in two different ways, in two different, basically overlapping frickin' areas. Whatever, I don't care. Point is, she seems like another professional victim to me with the ageism thing. Well, sometimes it is past your time and you need to frickin' retire. I mean, I don't know how old she is, so she's probably made more than enough money in her life, though, if she was like executive vice president for Trump. So, who cares if he boasted? And maybe he didn't see it as boasting, and it's just like, boasting is, that's when it's like you're trying to, make yourself seem better than somebody else or something, Maybe you just saw it as like, happily talking about it, I'm happy about this. I just wanted to share that with you, that I'm happy. Yeah, by the way, another thing about Miss Rez, she's selling a book. Okay. The book, there are quotes from the book, so she's obviously the demographic is not those that would want to vote for Trump unless she could possibly change their minds. But like, hey, read my book, you'll change your mind, and I'll make money. I'll make more money. Jesus Christ. So why else write a book like that? Well, if you left on bad terms, you left on bad terms. You write a book like that, you're trying to make money, and well. When was this published? Well, I guess it was published in 2013. Still, not like it sold much back then, but, well, what better time to garner some sales from it than now when he's running for president? So, opportunism. So, well, that doesn't make her any better than him if she's actually telling the accurate truth rather than some subjective delusion on her part. Anyway, woman as trusted colleagues. To build his business, Mr. Trump turned to women for a simple reason. They worked hard, often harder than men, he told them. So, that's a big compliment to them. But apparently compliments are bad. You can't compliment a woman anymore. When Mr. Trump hired Miss Rez to oversee the construction of Trump Tower, he invited her to his apartment on Fifth Avenue and explained that he wanted her to be his Donna Trump on the project, she said. Few women had reached such stature in the industry. She did get a little bit chubby there. Oh, well. Miss Rez, he said, I know you're a woman in a man's world, and while men tend to be better than women, a good woman is better than 10 good men. He thought he was really complimenting me. Okay. So I'm guessing you take this part as a backhanded compliment or whatever, or whatever you call it. But yeah, he still says a good woman is better than 10 good men. Okay. I mean, that part's still a compliment regardless. And men in construction kind of do tend to be better than women because it's pretty aggressive minded industry, whether you're in the boardroom or you're on the site. Okay. I mean, I don't know how many people that are still actually watching this, and I hope you are, actually know anything about how corporate America can be. Okay. I mean, you get yelled at in there. Okay. Like, and this goes back a long ways, like you mess up, people might actually be like, you're freaking fired, and like there's that kind of aggressiveness in corporate boardrooms. And for people to say that Trump's a really nice guy and people that used to work with him, that's actually kind of a testament to him, or at least for many people to say that. But she never said that he like yelled at her or anything like that. So that's pretty impressive considering, he was in corporate boardrooms because he's a wealthy man. There's a lot of people who are just big time assholes that have that kind of life. Okay. So, I'm sorry, Miss Rez, that you're so overly sensitive there. You wouldn't have made it in like a Rockefeller Corporation or something. Anyway, he entrusted several women in his company with enormous responsibility. Once they had proven themselves worthy and loyal, Miss Sunshine had little experience in real estate. But as a top campaign fundraiser for Governor Hugh Carey of New York, she had fulfilled a lifelong wish for Mr. Trump. She secured him a vanity license plate with his initials, DJT, which adorned his limousine for years. And this former Trump executive said, it's something he had wanted since his father bought him toy cars. By some gift of God, I was able to obtain it for him. He was beyond thrilled. And I became the woman in his life could do no wrong. He became the man in my life who was going to be my mentor. She worked for him for 15 years, becoming a major New York real estate figure in her own right. Miss Rez remained at the company for 12 years, left after a disagreement over a project, and then returned as a consultant for 6 more years. Both expressed gratitude for the chances Mr. Trump had taken on them. But even still, she left, there's a chance here that there is some venom from Miss Rez over this disagreement. Maybe she was desperate for money at this point, decided to swallow her pride. You don't know, okay? In a rough and tumble industry, thoroughly dominated by men, which, being that it's rough and tumbled, it probably should be because men are masculine, not feminine. Well, that's not always the case anymore. Anyway, in this industry dominated by men, Mr. Trump's office stood out for its diversity, recalled Alan Lapidus, an influential architect who designed the Trump Plaza Casino in Atlantic City. He is a lot more complicated than the cartoon character. The top people in his company were women like Barbara Rez. For any company to hire a woman as chief of construction was actually startling. I don't know of a single other developer who had a woman in that position. The respect for women was always there. That's why, in spite of the comments he makes now, and God knows why he says these things, when he was building his empire, the backbone was women. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad, really. That doesn't sound like a sexist, because I think he wouldn't have these women around. So then we get into dismissive nicknames. This is where it's stupid. To women who had climbed to positions of power outside his company, Mr. Trump's behavior could feel like a jarring throwback. Larry Townsend was for a time the highest-ranking woman inside New York City Hall during the Koch administration, with the title of Deputy Mayor for Economic Development. But when Mr. Trump called her, she said her position seemed less relevant to him than her gender. He was dismissive. It was always hun, dear, things that he wouldn't have said to a man. Nobody would say that to a man, except for a woman. Okay? Women say that to men, and men say that to women. If a man said hun or dear to me, I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It was designed to make you feel small, and he did that repeatedly. So is it designed to make a man feel small when a woman says that to a man? Especially older women of older generations. I have them say that to me. How you doing, hun? How you doing, dear? It's kind of old school thing to say. Okay? This woman is probably just a kooky feminist who has a delusional perception. Things he wouldn't have said to a freaking man. Of course he wouldn't have. See, this is the kind of garbage that pisses me off, okay, about people's perceptions. Whatever. It was an unthinking habit when he interacted with women, colleagues said. Yeah, because it's socialization, okay? The dude's like 70 years old. So he was born in the 40s, 50s? Huh? So, yeah. I think that would be a 46 or something, right? People were different back then. Conversation was different back then. Little things like hun and dear were said from man to woman and from woman to man. He is part of that generation. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually politeness, for fuck's sake. See, one of the valuable things I learned from my high school history teacher, who is one of the most influential teachers I ever had, and not because he tried to brainwash me, but he did tell us something that was rather important about history. To understand history, it helps to understand the way people thought at the time. See, I understand a lot of older generations and the way they thought, and even why they thought that way. Okay, but this was considered politeness. So of course it's an unthinking habit, programmed socialization of politeness. That's the way they perceived it back then. Wife, partner, and regret. No single figure better encapsulated the paradoxes of Mr. Trump's treatment of women in the workplace than his first wife, Ivana. Basically, she ran the hotel and she ran it well, Miss Red said. But you know what? As he wrote in his book, The Art of the Comeback, my biggest mistake with Ivana was taking her out of the role of wife and allowing her to run one of my casinos in Atlantic City, then the Plaza Hotel. The problem was work was all she wanted to talk about. A man doesn't always want to talk about work with his wife. When I got home at night, rather than talking about the softer subjects of life, she wanted to tell me how well the Plaza was doing, or what a great day the casino had. I will never again give a wife responsibility within my business. See, he wanted to enjoy her company. Is there something wrong with that? See, to twist it any other way is delusional. See, this article really pissed me off just because of... I don't care if it's about Trump or who it's about. It's about twisting everything he does into something negative, okay? I would get freaking frustrated and bored with my wife if that's all that she wanted to talk about was work, okay? I would want to have fun with her, you know? I would want to enjoy her company. Anyway, that's probably why Mr. Trump remains uninvolved in the work of his current wife, Melania. Okay? After calling it very successful, he struggled to describe it. Because he wants to enjoy her company, okay? He doesn't want to talk about work. He talks about work at work. Probably gets old. And that is completely normal. Accusations and denials. Once his first marriage started to collapse, Mr. Trump faced his most serious allegations of aggression towards women. All right, this one's interesting. When Lost Tycoons, The Many Lives of Donald J. Trump by the journalist Harry Hurt III was released in 1993, it included a description of a night in which Mr. Trump was said to have raped Ivana in a fit of rage. It also included a statement from Ivana that Mr. Trump's lawyers insisted be placed in front of the book. In the statement, she described an occasion of marital relations during which I felt violated, as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited towards me was absent. Well, it ended in 1992. The book was published in 1993. And yeah, maybe his lawyers did, put that in there, but she said she felt violated. During deposition given by me in connection with my matrimonial case, I stated that my husband had raped me. I refer to this as a rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Maybe she was saying it in court in her matrimonial case to get more out of it, okay? But if you recall, he got sick of every conversation being about work. So, she felt violated, as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited towards me was absent. I just told you why it was absent, because all she wanted to do was talk about work. See, there is such a thing as angry sex between a married couple, particularly from the man's perspective, okay? And even from just a boyfriend and girlfriend, okay? And sometimes, that can happen actually, most of the time it can happen out of frustration. Sex can be a very aggressive act, And she's basically saying that, no, it's not like the frickin' literal sense of rape. So, I can't blame Ivana saying, well, after the fact, that the story is totally without merit. Because she explained the finer points of it, okay? But they're trying to make him look like a frickin' rapist. So maybe he was pissed at her and, got a little bit rough and a little bit less loving, okay? Because he was frustrated, so he was fucking, not making love. That's one way of putting it. And then it goes on with this Jill Harth woman in the early 90s, and her boyfriend at the time, George Hereney, who worked with Mr. Trump on a beauty pageant in Atlantic City, and later accused Mr. Trump of inappropriate behavior towards Miss Harth during their business dealings. In a 96 deposition, Miss Harth described their initial meeting with Mr. Trump at Trump Tower. Donald Trump stared at me throughout that meeting. He stared at me even while George was giving his presentation. In the middle of it, he says to George, "Are you sleeping with her?" Meaning me. And George looked a little shocked and said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Well, for the weekend or what?" Mr. Hereney said in a recent interview that he was shocked by Mr. Trump's response after he made clear that he and Miss Harth were monogamous. He said, "Well, there's always a first time. I'm going after you." Hereney recalled, adding, "I thought the man was joking. I laughed." He said, "I am serious." By the time the three of them were having dinner at the Oak Room of the Plaza Hotel the next night, Mr. Trump's advances had turned physical, Miss Harth said in the deposition. "Basically, he name-dropped throughout the dinner when he wasn't groping me under the table," she testified. "Let me just say, this was a very traumatic thing working for him." All right. I'm going to read the rest of it, then I'll comment. Miss Harth, who declined to comment, interestingly, gave the deposition in connection with a lawsuit that alleged Mr. Trump had failed to meet his obligations in a business partnership. Mr. Trump settled that case but not denied wrongdoing. Ms. Harth withdrew her own lawsuit against Mr. Trump, alleging unwanted advances, but she has stood by her original claims. So declining to comment is standing by her original claims. Mr. Trump said it was Ms. Harth who had pursued him, and his office shared email messages in which Ms. Harth, over the past year, thanked Mr. Trump for helping her personally and professionally and expressed support for his presidential candidacy. So that paragraph right there basically kind of puts the rest to shit. And, well, what if she was basically in her deposition in connection with the lawsuit that alleged Mr. Trump had failed to meet his obligations? Well, what if she was just pissed about that, or about her feeling that that was the case, and she decided to say that he was making very hard sexual advances against her, including groping her under the table? I'm sure you imagine, the classical I'm going to stick my foot in your crotch kind of thing. But yeah, maybe she was doing that to him. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a woman does that to a man, and it's much less likely for a man to do that to a woman, okay? Women, like the whole rape culture thing is such bullshit, because women are the ones that, tend to have the power at this point in a relationship, we'll call it. So, I mean, this was what she testified, but yet she ends up saying this. So she was probably trying to seduce him to get what she wanted. She didn't get what she wanted. She got mad. She ended up pushing it to a lawsuit, which basically would cost him less money to settle it rather than continue fighting it, because this happens in a lot of court cases where it actually costs less to settle the case, okay? I wish I could remember the case I heard about recently. Gordon Food Service, and they had like 900 some women applicants sue them because and this was partly in Michigan and in surrounding states, okay? I think it was Battle Creek and Brighton, Michigan. And they hired it was 300 some men and only like 4 women. And they had a test where basically the job had a requirement of being able to lift a certain amount. And only like 4 or 6 women or something passed it and got hired. Why would you hire somebody if they can't do the job? Okay. So these women sued, and they got a what was it, like $1.5 million settlement? They settled out of court because the women were going to keep pushing it in court. Their lawyers were, okay. And that was going to cost more and more money, so it's like, might as well settle it. Even though, sorry, but Gordon Food Service is completely correct in what they did in not hiring these women, because, well, what? So you hire half men, half women, and only the men can do the job. So basically, you're paying half of those people to do nothing. All right, that's makes no sense. I'm just using that as an example. Every word I say about it is based on what the left-wing news reported on the radio. So I'm basically, analyzing it based on the assumption that what they reported is fact. And I'm analyzing the information that they reported. That's that. Anyway, defending his record. Hell, is this getting stupid yet? Mr. Trump says the world misunderstands his relationship with women. He sees himself as a promoter of women. A man whose business deals, like the purchase of the struggling Miss Universe pageant, is giving them untold opportunities for employment and advancement. Hundreds and hundreds of women, thousands of women, are the better for it, he said. And yeah, that's probably true, as far as financially speaking. I mean, did he make them go the pageant route, which is basically to be a good-looking entertainer? And that's the only real point of it, An entertainer or a model. What else are you going to do with it unless you have something to fall back on? They chose that path. Do they expect to be judged on anything else, really? No, it's an intelligence competition. Hell, most of their parents are probably freaking pedos anyways, for Christ's sake. And who do you think watches them? Intellectuals? Like, hey, George, what are you doing tonight? I'm watching the Miss Universe pageant. Why are you doing that? The question and answer portion. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Men don't watch it for that. They watch it because they're looking at hot women and they're thinking about sex. Women probably for the most part watch it, well, because they're watching it in a vicarious manner, where they're kind of imagining themselves with that sort of adoration. It's kind of the same reason why they will think an actress is awesome or something. It's like living vicariously through them. They watch those stupid Hollywood gossip shows with all the glitz and the glamour and crap, and it's stupid. What other reason is there to care about these other people's lives that you don't know and will never know, and all that? And men have their ways of living vicariously too. They got sports. I like sports. I understand how it is, but I'm honest with myself about it. But I still like sports. Now, even the women that are in these sort of pageants, most of them, if not all of them, are basically beautiful their whole lives. And they probably hear about it their whole lives. And it gives them a sense of importance, of worth, okay? Probably mostly think they're special, I'm sure a few of them are somewhat humble, but that's uplifting for them, to be beautiful, makes them feel important. And, well, they're used to it, it's normal to them. And that's the kind of centerpiece of their self-worth, I personally would prefer an ugly duckling type, because they're usually not told they're beautiful their whole life, but then they turn out beautiful and they're more humble and they don't care as much about their looks even though they become beautiful. But anyway, even still, it doesn't mean he's any sort of sexist. And, well, I don't really care that much if he is. I think pageants are stupid, but whatever. That's not why I think people should vote for Trump. But I explained that at the beginning of the video. Oh, Mr. Trump recalled an exchange with a female worker. I've said, why don't you go home and take it easy now? Just go relax. No, Mr. Trump, I have to finish this job. And I said, boy, you really are a worker. And it would just seem that there was something that they really want to prove. So they really want to prove something, which is wonderful. So that's actually a statement of positivity towards what I understand to be second wave feminism. Oh, but he's a sexist. Several women who have held positions of power within the Trump organization in recent years said they have never known Mr. Trump to objectify women or treat them with disrespect. I think there are mischaracterizations about him, said Jill Martin, a vice president and assistant counsel at the company. Ms. Martin and Mr. Trump have enthusiastically supported her decision to have 2 children over the past 5 years, even when it meant working from home and scaling back on business travel. That's hard for women lawyers, she said. For me, he's made it a situation where I can really excel at my job and still devote the time necessary for my family. Well, that's kind of a good thing, Or even after competing in the 2009 Miss USA pageant, Laura Kirilova Chukhanov, a Bulgarian immigrant who lived in Utah, met with Mr. Trump in his New York office and explained that she wanted to make a documentary about her home country. He encouraged the project and followed through on a promise to put her in touch with his production company. He genuinely wanted to know what I wanted to do with my life and how he could help, she said. What a shit to women he is. But when Mr. Trump lost confidence in women, he could inflict lasting damage on their lives. Okay. And yeah, this is fucking stupid. After Alicia Machado won the '96 Miss Universe title, something very human happened. She gained weight. Mr. Trump did not keep his critique of her changing body quiet. He publicly shamed her, he said. Or she's just kind of hot, honestly, but publicly shaming her. Okay. Here's what she considers public shaming. I told the president of Miss Universe, a very sweet woman, I said I need some time to recuperate, to rest, to exercise, to eat right. I asked them to bring me a doctor to help me, to have a special diet and get exercise, and they said yes. They took me to New York, installed me in a hotel. The next day, they took me to the gym, and I'm exposed to 90 media outlets. Donald Trump was there. I had no idea that would happen. I was about to cry in that moment with all the cameras there. I said, I don't want to do this, Mr. Trump. He said, I don't care. Mr. Trump said he had pushed her to lose weight. To that, I will plead guilty, he said, expressing no regret for his tactics. Okay. Yeah, he was pushing her to do weight. Maybe he thought that the 90 media outlets would further push her. Because, see, he's also trying to promote her. But the humiliation, Miss Machado said, was unbearable. After that episode, I was sick, anorexia, and bulimia for 5 years, she said. Over the past 20 years, I've gone to a lot of psychologists to combat this. That's unfortunate, like, yeah, I'm mocking her, but it's a matter of perception, okay? Perceptions collide here. Mr. Trump trying to promote her and motivate her at the same time. I mean, this is not really all that different than, whatever celebrity gains weight, I can't remember any by name, though I've seen it in the side pane of the Daily Mail. I can't tell you how many times, blah, blah, blah. Christina Aguilera is getting fat. And the next thing you know, she's all looking good and skinny or some shit, Well, maybe that's his line of thinking or whatever, He's trying to promote her. Yeah, he'll make money and so will she. Basically acting as her agent. But she, didn't take it that way. Yeah, maybe he said, I don't care, but it's like, well, you're basically working for me, okay? And in the role you're in, you have to be in shape. So get in shape. Maybe it seems, a bit cruel to you, but I mean, this is the role of a beauty queen type, okay? So gaining weight doesn't work with that. Or model gaining weight doesn't really work with that too much, Yeah, don't get me wrong, I have my problems with the industries as well, the borderline anorexia of many models. But she doesn't look like she turned out too bad here. She looks actually very, very beautiful. And how old is she probably? I mean, I would say in her late 30s, though she has some makeup. She has a little bit of aging, but she is a very beautiful woman. Good for her. Maybe she learned something from her experiences here. Maybe she got stronger. And good for her on that. See, it seems so horrible at the time, but it's not always a bad thing to go through something that's very hard, because you will come out stronger if you don't give up. That's actually a good thing. And that's life. That is actual life right there, okay? And that's how wisdom grows. And by the way, the humiliation was not unbearable, because she's still here and she's freaking hot. And yeah. But that's sexist to say she's hot, right? Oh yeah, and we don't know for sure that he said these exact words. That might be a summation, or basically, she heard what she heard. Maybe reforming what he actually said. Who knows? We don't know. So it should be clear that this is a complete hit piece. Often intentionally misrepresenting what is actually going on. Okay? intentionally trying to make it look like this man hates women. Okay. See, he's of a different generation. Men are apparently, well, not as much like him anymore. Maybe there's good and bad about that, but what he is basically an alpha male type. And he's a big pushback to, the insanity that feminism has become. Okay. And this article is an example of that. Where, like, they try to twist things that are pretty normal for men to do, that are part of being a man, and make them just out to be just horrific things. And he speaks out against these sort of things, but not in a highly intellectual manner. He's good at relating to the common man, okay? And believe it or not, there's more of these common men and women. When I say man, I mean mankind. He is good at doing that, okay? And there's more of them than there are, well, intellectuals. See, me personally, I'm a cross between a lot of these things, you know, like I'm just as much a common man as I am an intellectual, I guess, you know. I don't get all elitist about it and stuff, but, you know, I spend most of my time around the common man. And I like them. And this man seems to certainly understand them better than any Republican or Democrat candidate that we have. You know, he's got a following because he's relating to the people. So is Bernie Sanders, you know, as misguided as, you know, those who believe in socialism may be, because they've been brainwashed their whole life by the school system. And they never really took the time to think for themselves and took all these cherry-picked ideas and thought that they represented truth. You know, but I understand their point of view. I've had numerous debates. I have a friend of mine that I especially liked to debate these sort of subjects because it was particularly respectful. You know, and it was interesting throwing ideas off each other, you know. And we each found ideas we threw off each other agreeable. And, you know, these things are good. And that's the free market of ideas, basically. And it's good to discuss things like that. What's not good is to be a hardliner on things, okay? You can't be wrong, no. You can't admit you're wrong. You can't review your own perception, your own thoughts, your own ideas. That's a negative thing. And I will continue to do so with this guy. Okay? I have some issues. Like I'm not sure about the tariffs. I'm not sure about that idea. I could talk at length about it, you know. There's so much to talk about, but see, this is politically motivated. The New York Times is long-term leftist publication, you know. And this is not objective journalism. And journalism has not been very objective for a really long time, you know. Now and then there are objective journalists, but I don't see many of them, and I haven't for a long time. And that's why it amazes me that so many people who, especially, you know, those who call themselves truthers, that I have things in common with, you know, but like they're so against this guy. It's like, I'm not saying just, you know, be a freaking sheep and think he's a savior. There is only one savior, and it's not this guy. But this guy is the product of something, and that is a response to the insanity of so-called progressivism. And it's gone too far. And if he turns out to be a Hillary Clinton operative, as some think, so be it. I'd rather have him in there than her. Because the truth is, we don't know that. We don't. And all the evidences I've seen push for that are circumstantial and potentially have an alternate explanation. which he has stated out of his own mouth. But if you're not looking into these things, if you're not hearing what he's actually saying about these things, and really considering, like, is he being honest? Like, he's not afraid to confront these things, okay? That's part of the reason why he's worth the risk. Thanks for listening.